today we're going to be talking about fractions, which we've learned a lot about already, but we're going to be talking about today comparing different sizes of fractions to know which ones are bigger and which ones are smaller, because as you can remember, fractions are when we cut things into equal parts. So as you can see in the first one, we've cut it into 4 pieces, and the second one is also cut into 4 pieces, and then this is cut into 2 pieces. The first one is we have 4 pieces, which is called quarters, and I've colored in 1 part. So how many do we have? We have 1 quarter. That is how we write it in numbers. And then we have how many pieces here? It was also cut into 4, but now we have 3 colored in, so we have 3 quarters. And then in the last one we have half, so it's cut into 2 pieces, and how many of the 2 do we have? We have 1 piece. So whenever you write fractions in numbers, the amount that it's cut into goes at the bottom, then you draw a line and you write the number that's being used or colored in at the top. So 1 quarter, 3 quarters, and a half. And as you can see from these things, having 1 quarter is less than having 3 quarters, and at the same time a half is more than having 1 quarter but less than having 3 quarters if you look at the amount that's left over. So if I were to put these fractions in ascending order, which means small to big, ascend means to go up, so from the smallest to the biggest. So I would go with the smallest first, which from looking at the pictures of the white that's left over, the quarter is the smallest piece. Next I would put the half. And then lastly I would put the 3 quarters, because that's the most or the biggest out of the 3 fractions. And then if I were to ask you to put it in descending order, remember D means going down. It's the opposite of ascending. So we go from big to small, which would be the exact opposite. So we look for the biggest one, which would be the 3 quarters, then the half, and then finally the 1 quarter. So here we have a number that reads 2 and a quarter. So that means that we have, let's say, 2 biscuits and a quarter of a biscuit. Alright, so now if we wanted to compare this with another number, we call this a mixed number because we've got 2 whole pieces plus a piece. If we wanted to compare this with, let's say, 2 and a half to see which is bigger, we already know the 2 means we've got 2 whole biscuits, but the half means that we've now got what looks like that, a half. So who's got more? You have 2 and a quarter and I have 2 and a half. Well, we both know we've got 2 whole biscuits, but here's where our difference is, in the quarter and the half. So whose piece is the biggest one? As you can see from the drawing, that the half is bigger, so the 2 and a half would be more than 2 and a quarter. So now we have a whole group of numbers, and I want to put them in ascending order, which remember means going from smallest to biggest. Okay, so now seeing from what we've seen about how to see the different sizes of the fractions, and also how to compare 2 different numbers with a fraction, let's see how we can put these in order. This is 3 and a quarter, 3 and a half, 3, 4, 4 and a half, and 4 and 3 quarters. So now I can look at the numbers by themselves first, and I can start with the smaller numbers and then I can add the fractions later. So there's 3 3s and 4 4s, so let's put that in. 3, 3, 3, and then 4, 4, 4. Right, so now I know my smallest thing will be 3. I'm going to cross that out from the beginning already because it's 3, that's all. 3 biscuits, nothing more. But these two have 3 and a little bit extra. So 3 will be my first number. Now I have to decide. So we can draw a little picture to see, is a quarter bigger or is a half bigger? Right, so now we have the quarter and the half. And if you can remember from the last one, the half was also bigger because look how big the piece is from a half and how big the piece is from a quarter. So you can always draw these out to help you decide. So I want to put then, if we're going from smallest to biggest, it'll be 3 1/4 first, 3 1/2. Right, now that we're done with all the 3s, we go into the 4s. Again, 4 all by itself would be the smallest because the last two both have an extra piece. Now we have 4 1/2 and 4 3/4. So let's try and see with our circles again to see which will be bigger. There we have 4 3/4 and 4 1/2. So now looking at these two, you can see that the half is a smaller piece if you look at the black that I've colored in compared to the 3/4, which takes up much more of the circle. So then I know I can put the half, 4 1/2 can come next, and then it can be 4 3/4 is the biggest out of them all. And that's how we would put it in ascending order. Remember, if I asked you to do it in descending order, you'd do it the opposite way. So just do it slowly and carefully and try your best. Remember to draw the fractions on top like this when you're trying to figure out the sizes of the two.